or you want to do user testing, but there's no budget for it. And even doing the design work, you can face kind of a lot of subjective viewpoints about what it should be.
Yep.
And I think when you're starting out in user experience, you're not really prepared for that. You're going into it in this problem-solving mentality, but then one of the real problems you face is that you've actually got to communicate a lot about what you're doing and why it's important to the people.
And push back if you don't correct. And push back.
Yeah.
Push back we push back when you feel there's something fishy or smells different, or there's different. Our job is to be the evangelist of human-centered design, which means if the customer wants it like this, don't try and make them do something that they're not naturally going to want to do.
I think you definitely push back when it's the right thing to do, and sometimes it's more take a step back and you figure out how you're going to sort of spread the word of the right way to do things in the organisation.
Yeah.
And it depends where you're working.
True.
And it depends on the types of people that you're working with and how open they are to talking about it and stuff.
I know that our personalities are quite different when it comes to UX. I'm kind of I like to just dig my heels in when I truly believe in a solution, the product. If something smells fishy, I definitely want to call it out as quickly as possible to make sure that everyone's aware that, that direction might not be correct, and I'm spending the time and effort to be able to solve it really quickly so that we can do a pivot that's viable versus, let's not talk about it. So I think a lot of the juniors that are coming up find it hard to walk up to a business and go, hey guys, we need to pause here, because if we don't, this thing's just going to fall over at the end.
But a lot of it, the common thread is it's kind of developing a communication style that is right for you in order to do what you need to do.
Yep.
And I think the bit in the middle, as designers, we often, the best way to be actually one of the things, part of that communication is falling back into what you're good at, which often ends up being design. So that's why sketching, using a whiteboard to clarify and talk about something is really vitally important.
And so I'm going to get going with the roast, but just talk to me about, I think something that's never been uncovered for me is the understanding of time management when it comes to UX design or solution design. I feel that when you say to a client, our discovery process is going to take 8 weeks. Yeah. They're like, whoa, we got you in for us to create a solution. They don't understand as part of that 8 weeks, we'll look at your end-to-end funnel, we'll work out the barriers to entry, we'll work out the components that aren't performing. Yeah. We'll call them out, we'll give you ideas around how we might iterate those pages or those components. That time management piece is really, really important to set a precedent for the client to understand through that 8 weeks or 12 weeks, you're going to get boom, 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 boom. Versus, and I think it just comes with experience, versus, can you just design me up some pages? Yeah,
and that's the challenge. It's a difficult one, because if you're entering into a piece of work where there's a preconceived idea about what UX is, then you're already trying to do the education part. So at least for next time, you can prove that you get more scope to do things better.
Yeah. And so do you think this book, for example, one of the titles is What is UX? Do you think this would be good for both, obviously, designer and customer? So that they can essentially go, right, this is what a UX person does, this is what you can set expectations.
To a degree. The what is UX part is really sort of approaching that question that UX designers get asked by people a lot. But one of the things I've thought about doing is rewriting it for a general business audience.
Yeah, right. So like a business book.
Yeah, so it's a different perspective.
Nice.
Because I think you've got to look at things from both perspectives as well.
Yeah, totally.
This is helping UX designers, but there's certainly an opportunity, I think, for doing a business version of it as well.
Mate, that's awesome. I obviously have gotten through halfway through this. Yeah, I love it. Wholeheartedly, I think it's a great book for the up and coming, and demystify a whole bunch of stuff that you may have learnt. And I guess people like me and you who've been doing it for years and years and years, we've kind of like, there's never a wrong or right way. It's every program's different.
Yeah.
And you may pick up bad traits along the way where this is kind of...
And, I'm still learning, you're still learning. The industry is evolving and changing, and it's an ongoing thing, isn't it? But,
so there might be a second version, mate. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, we'll see. It took a long while to get to this point. It was a bit of a journey.
Was it?
So I don't think another book will come out like next week.
How long did it take?
As I was saying before, must have been about 4 years ago, where I started putting pen to paper and I gave up, and I went, this is too hard.
Yeah.
Like I don't know nothing about publishing a book.
I don't know, you went through a whole bunch of stuff through that period as well.
Some personal things I went through, and I probably just got to a point where I went, no, I can't do this.
Yeah. How far did you get through it?
Not very far. It was an idea, and I'd made notes about it, and I'd written stuff down, and I'd probably just planned a little bit about what I wanted to do, and then when I looked at it and I did the research on self-publishing and stuff. And
right. Because Amazon's not easy, is it?
Well, I actually hired someone to do it's with a publisher. So that's the point that I got to.
Because it does look quite professional in terms of, I know when I had a look at the website, it's actually like the whole book and everything, you had to have gone through a publisher.
Yeah, so the publisher's been really good because the publisher provided an editor as well. So helping sort of shape the story, sort of make sure that, there were things in the book that I didn't notice, like words that I used over and over again, that all got ironed out. Nice. But that using other people is really important for doing a book.
Actually,
that was the turning point, realising that I couldn't do it on my own. Yeah,
for sure. 4 years, far out. That's
when I started.
Yeah.
And then probably, must have been about 2.5 years ago, I had a life coach who was very motivating.
Yeah, right.
And the key thing out of that was just find someone who's done this before that you can learn from, which I did.
Nice.
And then once I'd sort of demystified the process and what was involved, it was
easy.
Time consuming, but easy.
The writing or the process of launching it?
Both.
Together?
The writing. So I had a writing coach for a little while.
Wow.
Which really helped me just sort of kick off what I was doing and clarify what I was actually trying to work on.
Yeah, right.
Because originally it was going to be a book of workshops, but it turned out to be more of a communication tool.
Yeah.
And then hooking up with an actual publisher, a self-publisher, someone who had the expertise that could guide me through the process.
Yeah, right.
That was the turning point, really.
Far out. So, what did you do through COVID? I learned how to roast. You wrote a book.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, let's get started on this roast. And I definitely want to talk more about, some of the life stuff that you've gone through. But obviously, you spent a load of time writing the book. We've known each other for what? Optus days, Boral days. So like 5 years, 6 years?
Must be 5 years.
5 years, yeah. Let me get cracking on this roast. To put some more technicality into roasting, because I've roasted this before, I know that it's sitting at a certain drop temperature.
Yeah.
So I know. So here's more complex, and this is where it blows my mind, right? We're roasting about 1.5 kilo.
Yeah.
There is a temperature that I know that this specific roast, is perfect to drop at around 190.
Yeah.
190, 91 degrees at the drum temperature.
Yeah.
Which means when it bounces back, it's the soak and the way it roasts is at that perfect for that bean.
Yeah.
So here's some more complexity on top of this. The current ambient temperature around us affects the roast. So we're sitting at around 19 degrees
Yeah.
ambient temperature, which means this temperature, based on ambient,
Yeah.
I need to change so that that bean cooks at the same profile.
Right.
So like on a hot day, I don't have to bring this up so high.
Because the beans themselves are cooler, or
No,
hotter?
because the beans at a certain altitude have certain density,
Yeah.
which means you have to roast them at a certain temperature. You need to drop them into the roaster at a certain temperature,
Right.
which means if the ambient temperature is like higher,
Yeah.
you got to drop them at a lower temperature.
Right. Yeah.
Because those beans need a certain amount of temperature to roast to that profile.
Right. Yeah.
So then, more complexity. Beans have X amount of water in them depending where they've grown, right? Mm-hmm. Which means the certain amount of temperature you need it to get it on its way, like the tipping point for it to hit the profile. Which means that higher altitude coffee is a lot denser, meaning there's not enough water, so they use, and so lower altitude beans use more water, and so they're a lot bigger, more fruitful.
Yeah.
So like, that's what you have to know about the bean that you're putting in to be able to roast it, right? So I've obviously been playing with our signature profile, the Barty El Salvador, the green profile. But I've been roasting this for like almost maybe 2 years now. Well, playing around with it for a year and a half properly, and so I kind of know. So hear me out. Follow my lead here. I kind of know by feel, and I love to cook because I'm a foodie, all that stuff, the ambient temperature and how this is supposed to go in, right?
So you've experimented with it.
Right, test and
You've
learn.
UX'd it, in fact.
Totally UX'd it. Test and learn, test and learn.
Yeah.
But I would like this machine to tell me, based on the data that I've put in, from an AI perspective, that would be really cool.
Right.
Think of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty complex, isn't it? Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, that's all doable, though, isn't it? Once you've profiled it, once you know
Yeah.
yourself what makes a good coffee, then
Yeah, exactly.
doing the AI for it is.
Totally. And I think, you know, if I was to like totally take this to another level, I would love to like engineer this to be automated.
So you just put the beans in and it knows.
Yeah, it knows when to do, but I still love obviously the tactile piece of actually, you know, these beans you can't, you know, these beans are dead essentially. But by the time you put them in the roast and use a certain profile, then they come to life. You reduce the water in them. I mean, it's all very cool.
Well, to me, it's an organic product.
Correct.
So that sort of feel, the expertise should be a natural thing, really, which is great.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, hang on, let me just turn this guy off. Okay. So I'm going to this guy here. And what's really cool about Barty coffee, and I think I've already explained this before, but it's all about, you know, made to order. So at the back of every coffee, there's a profile number.
Yeah.
Which means that profile number is connected to the last profile that I've done. Which means if you get a certain coffee and you don't like it, you go, oh, too much acidity, or too sweet, or I want more sort of body into it, so I'd like more espresso, I can dial up that profile for you specifically.
Okay, so that's what the number is on the back of the pack.
Yeah, so so I'm going to follow a profile that I did last week, and it's 1431, which is obviously there. And I'm just going to grab it. That's not
So what software are you using?
It's called Artisan. It's it's a measuring tool.
So specifically for coffee, obviously.
Yeah. 1431.
So would professional coffee roasters use this
Same
software?
thing, yeah. Everyone uses Artisan, the other one's Cropster. And yeah. So this last profile is I dropped it at, the air temperature was at 222, and the bean temperature was just sitting on, see that, 198. So
this is hooked up to the machine, obviously,
yeah.
reading the data.
Yeah. By this guy and this guy.
Oh yeah, it's plugged in. Yeah, okay.
I've just got it plugged in backwards.
Yeah.
So we're good to go. See how it's kind of now sitting in a really good spot where I think, so this is the heat, so I can turn up the heat as it comes down. So I'm in a really good spot here. So I'm going to charge, that's what it's called. So I'm just going to bang this in. And while I do that, so one of the other things, you're not supposed to keep beans in this hopper because they dry the beans out. You want them to go. So I'll go start. So this is when it starts profiling. Whoop. And you can see the temp, right? It's a bit lower. I could just bring it up. I might just leave it because I'm pretty happy with that. And so I'll just charge. The beans will go into the drum. You can see them here. See them here?
Yep.
And they will change colour based on what's going on.
Nice.
So, yeah, move over.
I have to get some photos of it.
That's all right. So check this out. So here, I'm going down into tipping point. And see, this is the temperature of the drum, and this is the temperature of the air. For this particular profile, all I've got to do, because I've roasted it so many times, I've just got to follow this gauge, and that's it.
So what's the pink?
What's that?
So what? Oh, that's like the trajectory or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, have a look. And so this is the tester.
Amazing.
So if you take this out, this is the tester, right?
Yeah.
So this is where you smell the coffee. So have a go. Oh, yep. So yeah.
You've got to twist it around and pick up the beans.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't go in. Go in again. So yeah, so let it go. And then up, and then out.
Okay.
And then you'll notice, so it's just gone through tipping point, which means the drum, and so you'll actually understand, like it'll smell very different to when it's obviously a product which is dry versus and quite dead versus when it gets to a certain temperature, it'll start tasting like hay, like cinnamon donuts. So all I've got to do now, as it's coming up in temperature, 80 degrees, I'm going to get this pink line to kind of follow my other guy, just to stay consistent. So see this green one?
Yeah.
It's actually flowing to where I need it to be. So I'm now going to give it some gas. So this is the gas.
Yeah.
To get this pink guy to replace. So see how it's come up? Watch this guy come up.
Okay.
So I want to get it into that direction. It's going to increase quite a bit and then it'll fall.
So how long does it take?
About 15 minutes to roast.
I would have thought it'd be longer.
No.
I thought it'd be like, hours.
I think it's the prep time that happens.
Yeah.
And so you can start seeing the beans start changing. They're going to get to a place.
I can see a few of them getting a bit darker in colour.
Yeah. So now try it. It's called the trier. Yep. So just wait and then take it out. Yep. Smell?
Oh yeah.
What's it smell like?
It's a bit more sort of almost caramelised or something.
Yeah. So the next phase of the roast is called dry end. So this will go yellow.
Yeah.
And then it'll go to well, then you smell it. It smells like donuts or like hay or like bread, and that's when you know that you're in a place it's called dry end. Yeah. And from dry end to first crack is the development. No, it's kind of like the place where you can either extend, you can lift up the temperature to get the profile out.
Right.
So see how I'm kind of playing with that? It's kind of not doing its thing. So I'm going to give it some more juice. This green line's perfect, but I just need more heat because we're undercooking it.